And let's see. Who are the unlucky people online? So, Swift, Enoch, and Rodriguez. Okay. All right. You,
I'll say,
everybody's standing.
what's going on right here? Okay. So today is an emergency services meeting. Terry was originally going to be here, but he had a prior engagement. Our commander was supposed to be here, but he has a previous engagement. And then poor Chuck was doing the backup for the e-services, so he'll be speaking later tonight. I'll just go through some of the initial Squadron news, and it's quite a bit, so I'll try to cover as much as I can here quickly. Let's see. Aircraft status. So, November 216, Charlie Papa. The prop and governor overhaul is still in progress, or starts begun in progress. It started on the 6th. Expected to get that aircraft back in 3 to 4 weeks. 887 Charlie Papa is in service with the following discrepancies being watched. The wind, the true airspeed, and the outside air temperature are not working reliably on the G1000 display. Pilot reported that on Sunday he was descending through 5,000 feet over a hill and got some light turbulence, and the winds, true airspeed, and OAT all came alive. So there's probably some sort of connection that's loose or something that needs to be cleaning. I don't think they're putting it into service yet. So
sounds like ground.
yeah, I've learned that that's where you start with the ground.
Yep.
Let's see. On the same aircraft, the main bus voltage is showing a negative 1.5 amp draw. After start, it's charging, and as voltage reaches about 28 volts, it starts throwing a declining charge on main until it gets to about negative 1.5. The batteries are fully charged at shutdown, so it is charging. So odd behaviors with 887 Charlie Papa. 7598 Zulu. We're still waiting for the engine monitor to return from overhaul. So it's still out. Let's see, other updates from the wing commander. Powered aircraft population is down one more. National has decided that repairs to 970 Niner Niner, currently at Fallbrook, SS Fallbrook for those of us who've been there, are too costly for the age of the aircraft. So she will be departing the fleet. So at this point, we have 4 172 Sierras G1000, 11 182 Ts G1000, 3 182 Romeos, 1 182 Quebec, 4 206Hs, so that's G1000, and 2 206 Gulfs. Of the 25 powered aircraft in the fleet, only 10 are fully mission capable. So we're still kind of behind the curve on maintenance. We are currently in the progress of evaluating all aircraft locations across the group, which means that aircraft will be moved around. 2 aircraft got damaged on the ground, 171 Charlie Papa and 948 Charlie Papa. They're trying to figure out just how much damage and when those are going to be repaired. A reminder for everybody who is air crew and wants to be current for air crew, there is a safety presentation March 21st at 7 p.m. This is a requirement that you attend. So if you do not have information for that meeting, please let me know, or Colonel Swift, or our commander. Either one of us have the information. If you haven't already received it in your email, if you're not getting it in your email, you also let us know, because that's a problem right there. But it's a required safety presentation, so if you want to keep your flight status, you need to watch it.
That's the wings program,
No,
right?
that is the required by Wing. It is an aircrew safety presentation, and in fact, let me see if I've got the information on that. I do.
What was the date?
It is March 21st, so it's this Thursday at 7 o'clock to 8:30 p.m. Yeah, please mark your calendars for March 24th, 7 p.m. for a COG-wide safety presentation. The focus will be aircraft discrepancies and the importance of not accepting unairworthy or potentially unsafe aircraft despite pressures to complete the mission and return to base. All aircrew are part of the team and must openly communicate and call knock it off when prudent. This topic was chosen in response to actual occurrences in COG. Due to the importance and the potential impact, this presentation is mandatory for all aircrew. We will collect attendance and record the presentation. If you are unable to attend live, we will send instructions on how to watch the recording in lieu of attending. So again, it should be in your COG email addresses. If you don't have it, I can forward it. Please let me know. COG Aircrew Safety Presentation. Looks like it was sent on the 16th. Well, it was probably sent before that, but that's when I have it. All right. What else have we got? A reminder for all new members. They're encouraged to complete the level 1 onboarding requirement as soon as practical. Practical meaning 90 days. Seek help from me, Colonel Swift, or our commander, Lieutenant Tikhanov. Existing members are encouraged to verify their current currency on the Cadet Protection Program compliance and complete the recurrent training if you so need it. It was recently, I think there was a audit of it, and I think this squadron has like 6 or so that are expired. So double check your CPP, make sure if it's expired you renew it. Doesn't take too long. Questions, comments so far?
Do you know how often that currency
I used to know this.
I'm not sure how long until we need to look at it again.
I used to know this by heart. I believe it's 2 years, but let me, 24 months, well, let me verify that. Well, because it's, so that part's weird because when you initially take level 1, you will take Cadet Protection as part of Axis. All other renewals happen through the LMS before you go into Axis. At least that's where it shows up for me. But you know how normally you click Learning Management Portal, then there's the Axis link at the top. Also, for those of you who know what I'm talking about. Well, probably easier just to show it.
It'll probably change within the system.
And it'll, whatever I'm telling you will most likely change as soon as it leaves my mouth. Yes. Let's see. Do that. Let's see if any of this stuff starts to work today. Excellent. It would be nice if it would resize the window, but okay, we're not going to do that. No, I'm not going to do that today. Ah, there we go. Excellent. And for those of you online, let's see if we can get this to work. All right, so hopefully people online can see the screen now. I know some of you are logged in here. Michelle? Okay, excellent. Okay, so if you're at the e-services area, I have a quick link, but you can go into professional development. Or no, that's not right. That's not right. I have to dance around too because I'm lazy and I hot link it. Online learning. Now, down here where it says Access Learning Management System. So you'll come here because there was an old learning management system and then there was Access. So almost in every case, you go straight to Access. But after you've taken Cadet Protection, you'll notice it appears down here, just like the renewal courses. So yours probably won't say Advanced, it'll probably say Basic, and there will be a renewal Cadet Protection Basic for most of you if it's expired. But the way to check is, if I'm not mistaken, you can do a member search on yourself. use that, go to your training history, and you can look at cadet protection, and see when it was completed, and then do it's 24 months from that point. So no magic to it, but that's it. So that maybe answer your question. I mean, and it is weird they do it that way, that it doesn't show up again back in Access. I have no idea why. That's just the way they designed it. Any other questions, comments? No? Awfully quiet. Let me double check if I've got anything else. Let's see, yeah, cadet protection, we covered all of that neat stuff. L. Let's see. Is there an Al Berezueta? Berezueta. Oh, I never seen your last name before. So, welcome. You've been welcome before. Why are we supposed to welcome you again? You only get one welcome. And Ashley, of course. So excellent. So you both get your emails, your COG emails, all right, set up, and all that neat stuff. Excellent. All right. I don't have anything else. Chuck, you have fun ready?
Yeah, just a couple of things. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to share it to the people online though.
You want me to? Is it something I can pull up?
Well, I've got a picture I was going to use for but I'm not sure where is the meeting here. But I can definitely share to the screen.
Polling.
All right. Okay. So Terry asked me to go over a acronym that's used if you're the right seater on a mission in a SEREX. It's really important that you are familiar with the G1000, how to set up waypoints, how to assist the pilot as much as you can. And one of those things, especially if you're in a search and rescue situation, is to be able to quickly note where whatever you're looking for is, whether that's a person, a car, a boat, whatever it is. And one of the ways to do that is this acronym REEDEE, R-E-E-D-E-E. What that means is you push the range button, as shown here, enter, direct, enter. What that does on the G1000 is first, it gives you the latitude and longitude of what you're marking, so when the aircraft is there. When you do the direct enter, what it does is it creates a waypoint in the G1000 so that the pilot can easily get back to that spot without any trouble at all. He just puts in, go to that waypoint, and he's on his way. So again, it's just important, just remember, write down, do whatever you have to do to commit this to memory. That's REEDEE, R-E-E-D-E-E, super easy. Range, enter, direct, enter. All right? The other thing that I would suggest, and by the way, I learned this from Terry Pratt. I've never seen it in any MO documents, any MO, mission observer manuals, nothing that I could find to kind of document it and give you guys a reference to. So the other suggestion I would make is once we do get an aircraft back here, is make sure that you take the time, and again, you have to work with people, make sure that the maintenance officer knows that you're going to be in the airplane and doing that kind of thing, and you need to get checked out about plugging the airplane in so that you can do groundwork on it. But spend some time with the G1000. It's not super complex, but at the same time, it's tricky. There are things that won't come natural to you. The outer knob sometimes switches not sometimes, it always switches a menu item, whereas the inner knob, you use it to spell things like waypoints, airports, things of that nature. So it's important to get comfortable using, especially the MFD. And in a G1000 aircraft, there are two displays. The MFD is on your side as a mission observer. The PFD is on the pilot side. And again, you want to make sure that you have a relationship with that pilot, in that you're talking to him, what are you doing, things of that nature. You don't just want to do things without discussing it first, but you really need to become an expert on that MFD. If you're going to fly as a right-hand crew person, it's imperative that you're there to be able to back that pilot up. His job is to fly the airplane. Your job is to assist him by setting things up. There's all kinds of things that you can do. Another interesting document that is available from Garmin, give this a second to load. That's going to be way too small for you guys to read. But the point is, the information's out there. Google's your best friend. The G1000 has a search and rescue package that CAP subscribes to in it. What that does is that will assist in preloading search patterns, things of that nature. So if you can learn how to do that for the pilot, you're going to be a popular MO. And again, it doesn't matter. The MO may indeed be a pilot. I know Chris Younger, he's a MO a lot when they're down there at IPL. Also does pilot duties down there. So whether you're a pilot or an MO, it's really important that you study the Garmin capabilities and what it can and can't do. I'm by no means an expert. I'm still learning. I'm hoping that we get back in airplane soon so I can spend some more time on the ground in the hangar working with it. Just from a mission observer standpoint, as far as running the radios, being able to switch the audio to different places and things like that, that's all great practice that you can do on the ground. Somebody who's an expert on the Redbird, does it faithfully do this reedy on the Redbird?
Oh, yeah. That it does. There are some other features that
not quite so good at. So that's another opportunity, is using that Redbird to practice and to move around on the MFD. But it's imperative that you do your best to learn that and make sure that you're an asset to the pilot and not just dead weight that he's flying around. I'll be honest with you, I've been to some Cerexes, especially when I was doing my mission scanner. And the mission observer that was in that right seat was really of no value whatsoever. Couldn't hardly run the radio, much less assist with any kind of route planning or anything else. So take the job serious. It's they need a lot of your help and attention, and it makes their job easier. They get to fly the airplane much more safely, I guess. But it's important that you learn how to run that system. Anyway, as you go through this, the Garmin document is excellent. It will go through and it gives you the absolute button pokes. Here's creating a parallel track and search on the MFD. Now, you may or may not be able to look at this on your iPad if you carry one with you. I've got some notes that I carry on my kneeboard on how to do this. So there's several documents out there. Make sure you do your research and learn how to do it. But this walks you exactly through it. Not a big deal once you get used to the menus and the button pokes and all of those things. And again, if the Redbird does a good job at it, that's a great location. When we do get an aircraft, that's also really good is be able to do that. Now, nobody should just go out there and open the hangar and plug the airplane in unless you've been, thoroughly trained on how to do that, what switches to push in the aircraft and things like that. So you want to be careful with that. Any questions about the MFD, anything that I've talked about?
If you need to vamp, I mean, I can expand on some of this.
Sure, please.
So, in fact, do you have more to cover before I?
I was going to cover that radio as well.
Go right
so,
ahead.
yeah.
Go right ahead. I'll add on stuff later.
Oh, okay. So the other thing that I wanted to bring to your guys' attention from a comm perspective, again, let me preface this by saying this is a very cheap Chinese radio. It is not an ICOM. It's not the same as a $300 ICOM or even an Anytone for that matter. But for let me make this PG, for a stuff hits the fan radio that you can throw in your bag and have with you, it's $30 on Amazon. It does aircraft band receive, weather band receive. It covers all of the cap analog frequencies without an issue. I've got the programming software and the programming cable. If you're interested in getting one of these, I'm happy to throw in the base programming that I have in it. It does, as I said, aircraft. So if you're here working a Cerex and you need to listen to the control tower or ATIS or ground or whatever, $30. I mean, it's really hard to beat. Supposedly it outputs 10 watts, which is phenomenal. Most handhelds are 5 watts.
Is that
It's a 5RM. No, it's Bofang.
Oh, the Bofang. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to get that model off you.
Yeah, 30.
I want to leave one in my hanger.
Yeah, $30. Again, if you're new and getting into comms, it'd be a great way to start taking out on if you're helping with ground for the cadets and things like that, you don't have to worry about dropping it, loaning it, leaving it. I mean, it's not that $30 is nothing, but it's definitely different than handing a cadet your $400 Yaesu, So again, so far I tested it. I put it on a spectrum analyzer. It is absolutely clean. There's no spurs. There's no nastiness on any of the transmissions that it makes. How long it'll last? I've had it about 2 weeks, so it's hard to say. But for an intro radio to comms, it's very good deal. You guys are happy to peek at it and look at it and do all of that stuff if you want to. And as I said, I will program them for you if you buy them. Again, just real simple program with all of the cap frequencies. I think I've got a few of the surrounding airports as far as either the Unicom, control tower, ATIS, things like that. You can hand program it in as well, but Bofangs are notorious for being not user friendly as far as hand programming. So happy to program. It takes 5 minutes to push in a code plug to it. So anyway, there is a communication exercise coming up next week. I'm not sure that it will get down to the squadron level, but it's going to be a fairly large HF exercise. Comms is an important part of ES. It's probably, other than maybe the aircraft and the pilots, it's probably the most important because everything requires comms, whether you're searching for somebody, whether you're doing a aid mission, whether you're taking cadets on O-rides, everything requires comms. So I encourage you guys to get engaged with the comm side of the house. Make sure you understand it, what the capabilities are. CAP has invested an enormous amount of money into comms. They have got repeaters throughout the nation. They've got one of the largest HF. That HF is shortwave. HF network, at least in the United States from a civilian standpoint. A lot of stuff going on. If you're interested in comms, come see me. We can talk about it. We have a great radio room back here. We've got a what's referred to as an ALE radio. That stands for Automatic Link Establishment. So it's an HF radio that sits there and scans, and it scans a bunch of frequencies. And somebody can call you. They can index a call directly to this squadron by putting in what our ALE call sign is, and it will open that radio up in the back, and then you can communicate. That leads to a lot of other capabilities down the road, but throughout the US, they have what's called message center stations. So if headquarters wants to put a piece of traffic out, that gets pushed to all of these shortwave stations, these HF stations. That can be either bundled up and shoved in email, which is not the best method as far as if there was a real emergency, right? Because chances are email's not going to work. But there are other capabilities where that message can be read over the air, copied, delivered down to whomever needs to hear about it. So again, any questions about comms, any questions about READY? It's the encouragement that I would give you going back to the G1000 is spend as much time as you can if you're going to be an aircrew person and learn that, learn the functionality of the G1000. That's it.
Thank you. Hey, one thing I will say, we haven't talked a lot about, we don't talk a lot about comms in this squadron because we're a flying squadron and we don't have cadets, and that tends to be what we discuss a lot, is just planes and flying. We have a very good communication suite in the back, and it's been underused until Chuck got here. Chuck is an expert on comms, so it's kind of a newer area for the squadron. I mean, I know Colonel Swift did it, but he was the only one that did it, so poor guy. You know, if you are interested, definitely talk to Chuck, you know, and, you know, get it. I mean, when I initially joined, I was very interested, but then I got into doing a bunch of other things and didn't have time to really learn a lot about comms, so I inspire everybody to do some comms. What I will talk about, though, is to continue on, we've had this discussion before, or at least I have, but, you know, this is a flying squadron. We do fly. Most people are either pilots, have been pilots, want to be mission pilots, and get to the meat of what we do here at Civil Air Patrol. I'm a relatively new pilot, and the path that I've been taking is I want to be really, really good at being an MO, and I started that way. Because, you know, we do say the reason the plane flies for a SAR mission is to put eyeballs outside the aircraft, which is what the MSs do. The mission scanners, the aerial photographers. That's a mission that's specific to the people in the back are doing something that we're moving that plane for. But for the other mission types we have, it is a pilot and it's an observer for the most part. And the more that even a non-pilot can do in the right seat, the easier that mission gets, the more fun people tend to have. Because, I mean, you know, we say it's not all designed to be fun, but we can make it fun. You know, so this weekend I'm going down to Imperial. We're going to stare into Mexico for about 20 some odd hours. Does that sound fun? Not necessarily, but we can make it fun because Terry and I have flown together quite a bit. I try to be the best MO that I can be and offload all the stuff that makes his life hard, which is mostly paperwork because he hates doing paperwork. But, you know, simple things, fuel receipts and doing the mission paperwork, which I'll show a little bit of that as much as I can. And just generally being a good co-pilot, which is the mission observer is the mission manager. The mission pilot is the person who flies the aircraft. We've muddled the two because, as Chuck saw, and I warned him about this when he went to his first SARX, you will find there's a lot of mission observers in CAP that either are not pilots, not trained well, and not trained to a standard. And what that leads to is a person in the right seat who needs babysitting just as much as everybody else in the aircraft. So the mission pilot ends up having to fly the aircraft and do a ton of CRM, and make sure they're not pressing the wrong buttons, and they're not talking the radio right. So I kind of encourage everybody who is starting relatively new here. You may be pilots, you may understand the pilot side of the equation. Learn how to be a good observer, because that is the bureaucratic part of CAP as well as the CRM that you're going to have to pick up. And it's going to be better if you pick it up in the right seat, because when you do get to the left seat, it'll just be second nature. You already know those things. I mean, yeah, it'll be just like moving the seats over in the the airlines when they do it. It's a whole different ball game. But if you already have the pilot skills and you keep those current, but you also run the mission, and when you can focus on running that mission, it's very, at least I'm finding it to be very informative, because you get an inner look on how CAP does things, and that's, I think, is the important part. So a couple things I wanted to touch on, and I'll re-share my screen here. So I keep talking about how to be a good observer. Well, like a lot of things in CAP, like a lot of things in CAP, you've got to kind of have a want to learn. And, how do you learn how to be a good ML? So, and I'll probably have to do a little bit of hunting and pecking, so don't belabor me that. But I'm going to show you where to find some good resources on how to be, well, any aircrew, but an MO specifically. Oh, screen's not sharing. We didn't do the second part, which probably should do. There we go. Okay. Here we are at the National Headquarters website. Now, everybody's going to laugh when I hunt and peck around, but we go to programs, we go to emergency services, and this is where we have fun. There's a couple of things, and this is one of the things that I really want to do, is called NISA, the National Emergency Services Academy. This is, if you are fortunate enough to go and have the time to go, this is where they actually teach you how to be an MO and how to perform in these missions at a mission capacity. A lot of us just receive OJT. I received OJT. I mean, I just hung out in the planes until we figured out, what makes the pilot stop yelling at me. But the National Emergency Services Academy is where you learn how to do these jobs correctly. The one we're interested in is, so there's National GSAR, that's for the ground teams. I think ICSS is for the comms. I think that's for comms. I've never clicked on that. Chuck, do you know? Well, let's find out. We're going to find out in real time here. I think it's for comms. Oh, Incident Command School. I should have known that. That's for those of you that aren't pilots, don't want to be pilots, or even if you do want to be pilots, if you want to learn how to logistically run one of our actual missions, so be it, an actual search and rescue, a SARX as a training exercise, counter drug. I mean, they need incident commanders. That's who runs those. And if you want to learn how to run a SARX out of this squadron, the Incident Command School is where you would go to learn these type of things. Or you learn it on the job over years and years, hanging out with guys like Colonel Swift. Right, Colonel Swift? It's quiet now. So, anyways, went back to, if you're here, again, I reiterate, I went from, bugs are attacking me, sorry. You went main national website, programs, emergency services, and you'll see a lot of the stuff that is very interesting to people who do want to be in the emergency services program and fly. But what I was saying is, if you read up on NISA and try to get into one of these, if it's that interesting, you get into the air crew, right? Now, everything that you're going to want to know how to do as a member of an air crew in CAP is somewhere on this right list. It's not very well sorted. You can see there's a little more breakdowns over here, right? But it turns out you don't even need to go to any of these. You start right here. The air crew and flight line tasks we have printed out. They are printed out up here. I don't know when we printed this one. I guess 2005. It might still be current, but in case you're ever wondering or you want to print out your own and take a look, it's right here. All the PDFs that apply to aircrew are here. So as you want to expand your knowledge, you've got some time, I encourage you to come here and just kind of peek through it. I did it. I'm kind of geeky, but I got bored, and you start kicking through here, and there's really good information here. A couple of things, and I'll get to them. So, some of these are just, presentation slides on how to be a good MO and mission pilot. There's also a task guide for mission pilots. You'll see, if you're curious on what it takes to do any of these jobs or how do they do this, it's all right here. Advanced pilot observer. What I'm looking for, that's what I was looking for. So you mentioned, it's very difficult to go print out all of the G1000 manuals. If you click down far enough in the advanced pilot and observer here, you'll see we have a universal knee board. We also have them from some of the old aircraft, like this one. Oddly enough, the GX55 knee board, I actually printed it off because I have a GX55 in my aircraft, so that's what I actually carry in my aircraft. But as you'll see here, what Chuck was talking about is just the tip of the iceberg. You can learn how to do all these things from the aircrew school at NISA, how we, train it in CAP. You can learn, this is exactly what you would go through this anyway. So my point here is you can find so much information just by clicking around on the national website. And I wanted to point out this one specifically, NISA, because one of the things, if you're getting into G1000 for the first time and some of the stuff that isn't right relative or right forward for everybody is, if you look, one of the things they really tell us to do at the beginning of every mission is to set up the G1000, because we do have preferences. Like I'm kind of anal retentive about track, north up. I don't want track up. That's just me, because when I need to call references, I like to be able to just look at the map and, see the references instead of which way am I facing. Now I got to do math, and I hate math. So, but there's all kinds of stuff, and these are the kind of conversations you have with your mission pilot when you are sitting in the right seat. How do you want things done? Here, what do you want me to do? Here's what I'm capable of doing, and you have these conversations in the first time you get in the plane with another pilot. And now we're doing CRM, which is part of our charter, especially as the mission observer, as I mentioned before, is technically we're the ones in charge of CRM. So we want to have that conversation, make sure the pilots are happy with what we're responsible for, what we're going to do in emergencies and that type of thing. I think there was something recently. This gets into knowing, even if you're not a pilot, we were talking about in the turbo school, or not, I was not at the turbo school, but the understanding V speeds for a non-pilot, as an example. The reason that's important, and specifically the one for engine out glide, is, God forbid you have an engine out event, the pilot's going to be extremely busy. You may or may not, depending on your comfort level and the conversation you've had with your mission pilot, I will pick up the emergency checklist and call it out, because that is standard CRM. Or, he's busy flying, I will go through the checklist, right? Now, one of the things we want to keep in track of is the glide speed. And so, pilot fly plane, in addition to my checklisting, I've got an eye on what our airspeed is, so that there's just a simple reminder for the pilot, we're approaching our glide, we're getting slow. Like, just, they should know this, but you know how emergencies are. If both people are firing on the same, the wavelength, then the outcomes are much better. So, again, I wanted to show this is where you can find a lot of detail. I have to backtrack through all this. Hopefully, I don't click on the wrong thing. Let's see. And like I said, some of these I haven't clicked on in a long time. There's a whole PDF for this. There's aircrew survival, which I'll touch on it briefly. Mainly because for some reason they did give me the water certification skills evaluator. So I'll use this opportunity to talk about it. Some of the missions that we do are with the Coast Guard, and those missions you will be over water for extended periods. To do those missions, you have to have water survival qualifications. Um, I did it. I think Andre did it. A couple of us have done it. It's not hard, but do you need to be a master swimmer? No. Do you need to be comfortable in the water? Probably, right? There was a guy in my group who was not comfortable in the water. I mean, capable of swimming, but not comfortable in the water. He almost drowned doing the float. Like, we're supposed to float in the water. And by the way, they encourage you to come in either a flight suit or what you would normally be flying in. So you're not coming in swim trunks and having a good day in the pool. I wore a flight suit and I wore a PFD. The way I would be suited up to be in an aircraft in extended water. And it was funny because everybody's laughing at me for wearing a PFD. And I'm going to talk about this example for this reason. So I'm in my flight suit with a PFD. Everyone's like, why'd you bring that? I'm like, water survival. This is what I'd be flying in the plane with. That's pretty funny. But fast forward to, we're supposed to either tread water or float for 10 minutes after swimming. And one guy in my group, he did the swim. He was not able to float because he's got boots on, he's got a flight suit on, he's not able to float, and he's drowning, and he's getting into panic mode. Thankfully, I'm a scuba diver among a bunch of things, but I just took I stabilized him, took my I can't talk now, PFD off, and put it around him, inflated it, and we got past it. We didn't make a big deal of it. And the instructor pulled me aside and said, "Yeah, okay, you basically passed because you did that. Like because that's exactly what you're supposed to do as part of your crew. I mean, we're in a survival situation. Not everybody's going to be a master swimmer. I understood this, and being able to just kind of. But the other thing was I was equipped to do it. So if I didn't have a PFD, I would have had to actually rescue him and pull him out of the water, which meant he would have had to redo the test. So every opportunity you get to, I wouldn't say do it by the book, but there's a reason. Like, there's a reason we have aircrew survival, and they teach you about the things to do if you're on water or the things that happen if you're on land. There's a reason for it, and the reason we want you to read it and understand it is if it's in your head, even if you just read it once, when you're in that situation, there's a good chance it'll come back. So this is where you find all that wonderful information. So again, for just to kind of point it out, I started with going into the national website, going to well, I jumped ahead of myself. Went to the national website. If I can get back to it, there. No, I'm stuck in NISA, so I'll just jump out here. So you're at again, I'm telling you the secret. National website, programs, emergency services, and then for the neat stuff that I was just showing, it's all here in the NISA Services Academy. Now, the other part for us is here in operations, which you'll see a lot of the same things that you've already seen before, right? And it's just, it's interesting stuff about aircrew that are interesting to air crews, but as you drill down, the questions people ask, we have to take an air crew professionalism course. This is basically what the course is. I mean, if you ever need to because remember, as the theme is MOs here, we're supposed to be the ones managing the crew, taking care of the crew, taking care of our pilots. So we should be a little more familiar with the rules of the road, as it were. The pilots should be too, but we're the ones who are there to really, help out. All those questions about foreflight are all right here. So anyway, so that's all how to find some information. You can go look at any time. The other thing, and I'm going to go back, the other thing that will really make you an indispensable MO. You get in here and you learn how to fight around in wimmers. This is the other bit of advice that I gave to Chuck. And I feel bad. It's like I haven't even flown for a while, so I haven't even been in most of these. I normally know most of these by heart, which, yeah, those are going to be closed. I know, Mike, shout out the current CD one. Yeah, see, I haven't even looked them up yet. Okay, so if I look at a bunch of missions, so it's going to look pretty. I mean, it's probably hard to read the text. Don't worry too much about it. What I'm starting with is the paperwork side of what we do, right? Because when we fly the planes, and Terry he'll opine about this at nausea. If we fly the plane for an hour, we do an hour of paperwork. It doesn't have to be an hour of paperwork. If you've got a good MO, a good MO, I'm collecting all the data about the flight information anyway. Wheels up, wheels down. When we RTB'd, when we saw something interesting that we had to take note of, I'm transferring all that information into the sorties, right? And making sure that these sorties are loaded properly. So this is actually the main kind of mission. We don't touch that. But if I go into an air sortie, let me see if they have these built out yet. So they don't have all mine built out yet. But if I go in here, the first thing I'm going to do is go in here and double check. So if this was Terry and I's mission, our sorties. So we will have, let's see, probably 6 sorties this weekend or something like that. So what I do as an MO is I go in here and I make sure that, okay, I've got, because the mission director, the incident commander, he's going to build these sorties. They will be populated. But what I have to do is verify, okay, which number is it? So we use our tracking numbers here. We actually say which route we're going to fly down there. So I fill that in. I make sure all this information about the aircraft is correct. Most of this is going to be auto-populated, but then I get down to the crew contact and the pilot and the crew and whatnot. So when I'm doing this, you'll see most mission pilots just put their name in as crew contact because they're the mission pilot and they're used to people kind of not knowing what to do. Mission observer, you take that over. That's my job. Like, my job is to be the crew contact. If he's flying and I actually have my cell phone on, which, do I have my cell phone on? Maybe. They can call me, especially if I have a comms outage. We're at 1,000 feet. Our cell phones are probably going to work. So if we have a comm outage, I will turn my phone on. I also carry extra radios, but I should be the contact point because he's busy flying. Let me deal with all this. So I'll make sure that I'm set up correctly. The pilot and me, if I'm there, we're set up. Now, the second part of this, so this is the easy part. The second part of this is, and I'm not gonna fully brief this guy's sortie, but this is where we go in. Every time we fly, we brief, which has this information in it. All the information about where we're starting, where we're ending, the base, what radio frequencies we're going to use, because there would typically be a repeater, an R something for up here. It's R62 for down there. I think it's R26. And the actual air-to-air frequencies for the other aircraft that are doing this mission, and our air-to-ground frequencies, just in case the repeaters don't work. So we put all this information in the brief. We're not doing ground teams, but if we were working on a SRX, there would be ground team information that we would put in here as well. The route. So as you can see, most, at least from what I've determined, a lot of the pilots don't like doing this part, because it's like they feel like it's the negative part against the fun part, and they balance out to it's just kind of a neutral activity. If you as a mission observer learn how to do this part correctly, I mean, it needs to be done correctly. You can't just throw any numbers in there and have a good day. And check the boxes, do it right, put the information in there. Now the pilots are kind of free to do what they normally do, which is fly the plane and have a good time doing it and making it fun for the rest of us. But this involves things like when we stop for fuel, I'm the one collecting the receipt. I'm scanning the receipt, I'm uploading the receipt into Wimmers. So, and I just show you this to show that this is the kind of the back-end operations, and the MO is expected to do this. Like, this is actually part of the job. Most pilots do not demand this of their MOs, and so we have this continual generation of bad MOs, which is kind of where we are now. And I want to be the single vanguard of the people who change that. So I'll just say that. Questions so far? Comments? No, it's awfully quiet. No?
Wimmers isn't hard because I've only done a couple, but you have to make sure that you check every box.
Yes.
Put something in there and make sure that that it makes sense.
Yeah, the thing that I'll tell everybody to remember is this is software written by volunteers. So, I joined Silver Patrol 20 years ago when there was none of this. It was all paperwork. and everything took a lot longer. I mean, some things didn't because members flew their own planes for one reason, but everything took a little bit longer, and there wasn't a lot of accountability. Now we have a lot of accountability, but this software is maintained and written and maintained by volunteers. So the UI might be a little jacked up, the user interface, the user experience, the act of how many clicks it takes to get somewhere, that may be a little garbage too. But it is what it is. It's what allows us to fly $1 million Cessnas, for relative free, right? And have the fun that we're going to have in them. And anyway, so there is no official training course for Wimmers. I've looked, I haven't really found it. You'll find a lot of it in the aircrew task guide that I pointed to earlier. That's the best way to find out if you're trying to figure out how to do something specifically, like a mission observer needs to enter a search and rescue parameter or a search pattern into G1000. It's in the aircrew task guide that I had on the NISA site. So either it's up here, print it out, you can download a PDF, and you can look at that at your leisure. The other thing I wanted to bring up as an MO, so we talked about all the back-end stuff and the CRM things, which are very important. So if you have a photographer or you have MS mission scanners in the back, that's actually our job to manage them as well. So are they drinking? If it's a very long mission, or have they been eating? Do they need a break? Are they buckled in for landing? I mean, all those kind of things. Like, again, that's our job, because we're not flying the aircraft. Our job is to turn around and make sure they've taken a drink, they've done their things. If you are lucky enough to get mission scanners that actually know what's going on, most people are not aware of this, but there's a push-to-talk button in the back seat, in both seats, and we can activate that from the front. The mission observer can do that and delegate some radio responsibilities to mission scanners. I've only done it during my mission scanner training, and then we've never done it again. So I've never been on a plane lucky enough to do all that kind of stuff. But that is so. We talked about MO, CRM, and just generally helping the pilot out, knowing G1000, knowing the back end services, doing the gas and filling out Wimmers, all that kind of stuff. The other thing is comms. So those of us that are pilots, the comms is different, and Chuck will attest to this. So, when we do things, when I take off from Corona, I mean, it is as fast as I can get it out, right? It's Corona traffic, 55819, taking runway 25 for left departure, or left downwind departure, or whatever I'm doing, right? We get it out as fast as we possibly can. Whereas the communications for CAP, and as an MO, you have to switch gears, slow down, and it is Imperial base, Cap 443, wheels up, right? And then an over, so they know you're done talking. And you have to be very deliberate, very slow. There's different pro words, the words that mean something to other radio people. So I advise you not to fall into that trap either. I've seen pilots talk on CAP radio to where it's intelligible because they don't wait for the repeater to open. So, I mean, it's a slower environment. It's not like push to talk and start jabbering, right? Or push to talk and your brain locks up. It is wait for the repeater, Cap 443 Imperial base, wait for acknowledgement, and then say what you got to say. It's a different mode of communications, and one of the best ways I can tell you to get practice doing it for real is at your 2-year get counter drug, because in counter drug we both have to do air to ground, and air to cap base. So when we take off, I mean, it is Imperial base, Cap 443, wheels up, right? Then switch over and tell Border Patrol we're flying and here's where we're going to be. And then if there is any more offloading that I get from the pilot, it is, I will talk to, I'll talk on this air frequency for the, for whatever reason. It's the best place to learn, because SAR-Xs are not going to do it very much. A little bit of air to ground. Hybrids don't do as much of it either. It's CDs where you're going to do a lot of talking. So speaking of which, I've done a lot of talking. There's really no questions, no interest, nothing. It's all right over everybody's head. No, I mean, again, I've been here long enough to try to make sure that you don't get bogged down in certain um, colloquialisms, I guess. Because a lot of people skip MO because you don't have to be an MO to be a mission pilot. But we do need MOs. We need people with the MO certification that can and want to sit in the right seat and do a great job. It makes the pilot's life easier. It makes more people want to fly. So once we have more aircraft to fly, and in most missions, you have to have those two positions. So we're going to have a 206, which is going to enable us to actually be able to have a pilot, an observer, and have people in the back. With a 182, that's always a question mark, right? Because you put a big guy like me up front, nobody's sitting in the back, right? So I mean, and then if I'm sitting in the back, the plane flies weird. So it's one of those things. That was really fun when I was doing my MS work, by the way. Sit in the back seat, and we took on so much fuel that it was like, well, I guess we'll just fly circles for like an hour and a half, which is pretty much what we did. So, but we're going to have a 206, so we'll have the ability to put at least 3 adults in the plane with mission fuel, right? And that's having a photographer, that's having somebody who's maybe running the, we're not going to get one of those though, the infrared, they have all those and stuff. It gives us a little more options, right? We can actually do more training. So that's my spiel. There's a lot. I mean, again, I've probably started to get to the point where I've forgotten some things. But when you ask me questions, or if it's like, hey, I've gotten to this part in my my training, or I'm trying to look this stuff up, I probably have seen it, and I can probably find the more specific part. Like for instance, the G1000 knee boards. That it came to mind. I only thought about it because you were like, yeah, don't print all this whole thing out. Well, there is a G1000 knee board that CAP releases for this purpose. So right. But really, no questions. Is everybody sleeping? I see you guys online. You're sleeping. I know you are. Hey, I did 8 hours of online training today, so if I'm awake, you better be awake. Yes.
So, just because I haven't been at this very long, roughly what would a reasonable window be for somebody who's just onboarding, who's very interested in being a mission observer for the path, in terms of 6 months, a year and a half? I know there's a lot of contingencies, when the training's available and so on and so forth, but if you'd share your thoughts, I'd appreciate it.
I mean, Chuck's probably the best example. I think Chuck heard me at least 4 or 5 times talk about the process, which is get your level 1, get that out of the way. GES, there's 3 parts of GES, General Emergency Services. Just do them all. They're super quick and easy. Just get them done. If you ever have the opportunity to do ICUT, the intermediate, or sorry, we don't do basic anymore. It's always ICUT. So intermediate communication unit training. Get that done. So at least you'll know how to use the VHF radios that we have in the aircraft, right? There's a little bit of FEMA training, so get your FEMA account set up. And again, this is all, I'll even reiterate it, I have it on our main website. That thing will get out of the way. It's all on our main website. So you go to Squadron 5's website. This is the part where even me and IT, I get impatient about websites. There we go. So members, is that where I put it? Why I built it? The pilot career path. Don't worry about the fact that it's not particular. We're not talking about pilots right now, but you can kind of look down here and see some of the things that you may need to know. The other place to find this information, I didn't let this time out. Please don't time me out. Is our old buddy Squitters. So if you haven't been to OpsQuals, once you're kind of in the system, you will start getting through OpsQuals. And let's just, again, it's not going to show what. Do you know your cap ID yet?
718678.
What was that again?
718678.
Okay. I probably have an extra something in there. I'm going to do it this way. I can't spell today. I've been literally online training all day today. So that you, one of you two down there, right? Oh, wait a minute. Which one are you? There you go. I was like, that from there. Okay. So, first you're going to have to do mission scanner. And OpsQuals is the whole system that we use to track your operations qualifications. So there's like a dozen different ways that we track what you can and can't do here in Civil Air Patrol based on your training. OpsQuals is all the emergency services side of the house. So remember I said GES, your General Emergency Services, just do all three. Just get it knocked out. You're over 18, so you know we can actually just submit this one. But once you have those two, then it's super simple. I mean, I'll actually show how these work. You click up here and you put a date today, right? Because as of today, I would say you're over 18. So yeah, I don't know why it's not like that should automatically be there. But if I hit submit, hopefully it won't break on me this time. There you go. Ooh, boom, look, see, completed. That's how easy it is to do a Squidder submittal. When you take the GES and pass it on Access, that will fill out this. So some of these you can complete, some of them will be recorded as complete if you complete the actual training. But once you finish GES, that will turn green. Once that turns green, you do the same thing. You come in here, click in the box, you click on the date, and then you know, so like you would say today, well, I guess today's not going to work, but you would pick a date and then hit submit. When you do that, that alerts Andre, myself, and Colonel Swift that you would like to take this training. And us, being not crazy people, will just click on yes. And what that will do is unlock the next section, what we call familiarization and prep, or FAM and prep. FAM and prep, and this is how it always goes for all of this stuff. You can get with a set. So I'm a set for MS. Andre's a set for MS. Colonel Swift is a set for MS. I'm not sure how many there are. A set is a skills evaluator trainer. Whoever trains you can evaluate you. It's the same kind of thing, but you come to one of us for FAM and prep, and we go through this list. What are all these tasks? All these tasks, air crew and flight line tasks. So if you read the PDF or you use that book, all of those tasks represent things in that task guide. And so you will go through some training, read it first, go through some training, and then we will ask you to demonstrate that training. And then once we're satisfied, we'll usually do this in one session. We'll go through all this, check it off, and we'll show you how to submit when you have an evaluator. It's just you have to put in their CAP ID, and then you hit submit. It comes to us to make sure that did they do this training correctly? Yes. So these will turn green, right? Then again, when you've completed the FAM and prep, same thing. Click, submit, we click sure. Then you go to advanced training. This is the part that's going to slow you down, and Chuck will tell you about it, and I prepped as much as I could. You'll see down here for Mission Scanner, you've got a couple of FEMA trainings, and that's why I suggested go ahead and just get your FEMA account set up and do the training. I have the information on our main website. There's the Aircraft Ground Handling Emergency Services course, Aircraft Professionalism course, and then you have a bunch more tasks. Now, how does this work? These you're going to take courses on the FEMA website and upload your certificate, and we can show you when we get to that point as well. And then one of us verifies it. These two are going to be verified by your online training. The rest of these tasks you will do in an airplane either during training that the squadron does separate or as part of a SARX. Most commonly, people wait for SARXs because it's just an easier place to get it done. Well, I wouldn't say easier. It's just the way that it's a good way to get a bunch of things checked off at once. You will go to a SARX. You will be frustrated by the fact that nobody's really prepared and it takes much longer to do everything. You will get finally assigned to a flight crew. Your pilot and or your observer who's a set will know that you need to finish these tasks. So when we get airborne and we get into our grid, we will make sure we go through these tasks with you to our satisfaction. Check them off. I mean, some of them are super easy. locate a point on a map that's actually on the ground. There will be operate the aircraft communications equipment. I will turn on the push to talk. You will go, Cat 443, mission base. They'll respond. You'll give a mission report or an update report saying we're in grid at blah blah blah. Task complete. Like it's so that's how these tasks go. We'll sign them off, land, it'd be great. Then you just have to fly one more time. Just fly one more mission without being instructed on how to do these tasks. You just sit back there and do what you're supposed to do. You'll get signed off. Then you'll be fully submitted for MS. It'll come up to us again. I think it then goes to group and probably wing again. And then you're fully set off for MS. Once you become fully qualified as MS, then you can start your MO training. Because as you'll see, if I select MO, I know we're going a little bit over, but I'll wrap it up here. If you look at MO, one of the first requirements is mission scanner, right? Because this is why I say do all the general emergency service, because it'll already be done, right? And then you'll start to see some of these tasks are the same. So you'll see the FEMA training is exactly the same, so they'll already be green. Aircraft ground handling and aircraft professionalism, they'll already be done. So all of your training will be like this. Well, you won't have to redo everything from scratch in every single case. So going from MS to MO is pretty. You will have some tasks that are already done. But the hardest part is going to be getting to a SRX, navigating the crazy that is getting assigned to a flight crew and making sure they understand you have training to do. That's going to be the hardest part of getting MS done. Chuck, anything to add? You went through it recently, right?
Yeah, the key is, and I think Lieutenant Younger is really the person that gave me the clue on this, you have to be aggressive when you're at the SRXs. You have to go up to them and say, hey, I need to do this, this, and this. If you sit in the back and wait for them to call you, you're going to be there all day with nothing to do. And when I say aggressive, not rude, but forceful.
Yeah, I mean, at a SRX, there will be there's
a lot of people there. Everybody wants to get all their tasks done, so you have to be your own advocate.
So the first thing is, do you have to complete level 1 to do any of this? No, you don't, but you should in parallel be doing level 1. And because if you noticed, even if we go back to mission scanner, there's no specific requirement to have level 1 complete, right? But you should have level 1. You should get it done as fast as possible. And I think you're already done or something like that. Yeah, if that's done, you're great. But get the FEMA training out of the way. That's all online. Get that out of the way. So you have to go to the FEMA site, sign up for an account, do the training. It's all completely online. It's not hard either. It's kind of open book, so it shouldn't be too difficult. And then, like I said, look out for SRXs. Listen for them. If they're within your driving range, or you can find somebody who wants to fly out there you can find somebody. My plane's working again. But yeah, you get to a SRX, and once you get to a SRX, you want to notify the mission or the IC, the incident commander, and the AOBD, the Air Operations Branch Director. These are positions that are part of base staff. You need to talk to the AOBD to get assigned to a flight crew, and you need to let them know I need 2 flights because I'm doing MS, and you just stand there at the desk until they assign you to a crew. I'm serious, like that, because if you get passive, everybody else is going to do it, and you'll be like, oh, we've got no more space. So that's the hardest part, because after you've done that, then it's all MO is a little bit more relaxed, and plus you'll kind of be a little more familiar with the aircraft and the environment that a SRX is. Plus, with sets in the squadron now, we should be able to start, hopefully, doing training flights that we can do and train our own people away from this RX because it's a little bit better. Anyways, go ahead.
Since I have one more exercise for my mission video operator, should I wait for a ground team type of a mission?
Is there communications exercise, isn't there? Do those count as exercises that they can check them off?
Yeah, I don't think they do. They want you to be communicating with aircraft or ground crew or whatever. But no, you don't have to do it with
So
ground
I'm not sure if I need to go to a ground
You can.
There actually is one coming up in Big Bear and also another one in Palm Springs very soon. So.
Yeah, so ALBD or the Grand Branch Director, either one. But at a SARX, there will just be comms, and you'll be sitting in either the comm van if they drive that thing up, or you'll be in the comm room, like our comm room, doing radio logs. All right. Well, we're way over. I appreciate everybody's time. Any final questions before we wrap it up?
Just one last thing, if you need iCut,
Hold on.
do the online iCut, and then I'm also a set for iCut. I'm happy to come in here with you into the radio room, and we can get your iCut wrapped up.
All right.
One last thing, and I believe it's next week. Make sure that you RSVP
Mm.
come here physically if you want to
Yeah.
come to the meeting.
Yeah. If you're coming here physically, you need to RSVP because there's only 40 spaces for the to get the credit for Fast Team.
On the FAA safety website.
Yes.
On the wings, yeah, you got RSVP there.
He did, and he put me as a plus one. So.
Okay. Excellent.
I heard you registered on there, but it said that you have to be logged in online to participate.
Most likely.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, if we're here.
You have to be on Zoom or you either have to be here.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll do an attendance for. I've never actually done an in-person Fast event, so it'll be my first. I've done them all online. All right. Meeting adjourned.